it's Groundhog Day again. And here we are again. Well, folks, this is the second time we're trying this. We had some technical difficulties first time around. So this is a brand new episode of The Devil's Due, Take 2. See, I rhyme there. Here we are back again, Drew, and we're witty. We're here recording. How are you, sir?
I am well. Again.
Once again, you are well. So I will start the show as I started last time because I liked my intro. Let the revels begin. Let the fires get started. We're dancing for the reckless and the brokenhearted as we mark 1 year. Again, the celebration, not the best word, but 1 year remembrance of the week, like our country, I should say, because the world was dealing with this before we were. Our country changed, our way of life changed, and how we've been doing this for a whole year, doing this way, not seeing each other across the table recording. We've been trying to find ways to record so that the sound quality on both our ends is better, but alas, technology conspires to keep at least my audio mediocre, but I digress. We're sending this episode out this week to those who cannot be with us anymore, those who cannot hear this anymore, and also to those who can hear this and can be with us, and those who have grasped so tightly to hope and perseverance throughout the year. We feel better because we can see a light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully. So yeah, this show is for all of you. I am happy to be here. I'm happy to be here with you, sir, talking, discussing things. And so let's get our show on the road. How are you doing? How have your weeks been?
Pretty good, I suppose. Nothing insanely fun to report, I'm afraid. I don't know. Let's see. A couple weeks ago, thinking back now, had I finished watching all 5 seasons of The Expanse?
No.
Okay.
You had not.
Well, now I have. I am 100% caught up on The Expanse.
Our chat was with Alan today. It was just like, I'm just gonna sit over here in the corner, guys. You have at it.
You should join us.
I felt like Billy Bob Thornton and Tombstone when Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp see each other for the first time in the movie.
Oh, like, Carl, I'm sorry, I forgot you were there.
You may go now. That's kind of what it felt like. So.
Well, there's an easy way around that, buddy, and I would just say throw it on and dive into The Expanse.
I am not saying I will not watch it. Other things are currently taking priority.
That's fine. I never want to hear anyone out there lamenting their desire for a space show that, delivers what they want. If you're a fan of, let's say Star Trek or whatever, and you sit there and go like, how come there's nothing else out there like this? How come there's no good sci-fi shows on TV? There is one. Granted, I'm late to the party, and I said some of these things, and here I am now saying like, dude, it's been here all along. Yeah, get on board. 5 seasons into The Expanse, and it is tremendous. And as of last night, I am now 4 chapters into the first book in the series of books of The Expanse. So it's kind of like revisiting the first season in a lot of ways so far. It's pretty much like the first episode in page form. So I'm looking forward to crushing through the books now that the show is done.
Nice.
Well, done until season 6, that is. But the thing is, they're roughly doing a book per season, and season 6 is supposed to be the final season of the show. However, there will be 9 books, so they're going to either condense the crap out of it or end it at a natural arc after season 6. And I will continue the adventure. provided I can read all of that.
Cool.
So, yeah. Pretty soon, Carl, I'm just going to be going door to door. I'm like, you have a minute to talk about your Lord and Savior, the Expanse?
It's funny.
Only half kidding.
I'm only half kidding.
No, there's really not much else to report on my end.
I don't have the brochures printed up already now. Condensed talking points, that would be ridiculous.
People like, if you were to ask me, like, do you have a Bible? I'd be like, sir, we have 8 of them. The 9th is coming out soon. And it's on video. So yeah, there's really not much else happening. I upgraded my keyboard came. The one, remember the keyboard we talked about?
I remember the keyboard. You showed pictures of your proud new edition.
Ah, there it is. Yes.
I hear the clickety clack.
And again, it's not even the clicketiest clacketiest that I could have got, but it is so satisfying to use and to work on and just have and type on. It's definitely a different experience and one for the better. So yeah, it's pretty sweet. I ended up getting, for those who might be curious, I got a Ducky 1-2. Ducky's the manufacturer, the 1-2 is the model, and it's the RGB mode one, so it does all the keys all glow and everything, and it has various modes of glowing. That's pretty cool. And the Cherry MX brown switches, which I talked about last time, which are clicky but not too clicky. So yeah. And I got a new office chair after about 20 years on my old one. I got a new one. Yeah, my old one is my lower back, Carl, was starting to become a real problem. So
I was gonna say, does your butt know what to do when you sit down now?
That was never really the problem. But my low back was really starting to turn on me. So my new chair is much better in that department. So I've only had it for like 2 days, but in 2 days, I could already tell you after getting up after work, I'm not like deathly hunched over anymore. So that's good.
That is a good thing.
Yeah, I'd say so. Let's see. Anything else? No, nothing else is really going on. How about you? How's it going?
It's going good. Drew, I actually did show prep this week.
All right.
For a reason passing understanding. I just kind of remembered to jot it down, the important stuff from this week. So I do have some notes on my weeks. But really quickly, before I get to those, Drew, there's something else of note you did miss. We saw each other.
We did. I figured you'd bring this up, so I was gonna wait.
Okay, all right, yeah, we'll start with that. We had a gathering.
We did.
At your house, a social distance, safety precautions taken gathering for wrestling pay-per-view AEW Revolution.
Yes.
The show that started with a bang and ended with a pop, pop, fizz, fizz.
Oh, what a relief it wasn't.
No.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunate that things did not go as planned at the finale of the exploding barbed wire death match. Definitely a bummer. It's one of those things where the ride was good, and then the ending of it is all you remember, which is a shame because the work in the match itself was great, and then it unfortunately did not go off as planned. But they definitely are handling it as well as they could, if not brilliantly, based on Dynamite.
Well, I mean, they gave the microphone to Eddie Kingston.
Dude, Eddie Kingston.
And if anyone can convince you of anything, it's Eddie Kingston.
I've seen it commented online, and I think it's a fun turn of phrase. Eddie Kingston could sell a comb to a bald man.
Pretty much. Eddie Kingston could convince me that my son's name is Terrence and my wife's name is Ralph. And I would believe him. Sure. Because he's very persuasive.
He is, he's like the unexpected, MVP of AEW that I don't even know that they had on the radar when the company started, but now that they have him, like, he is, he's invaluable to the product at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's fantastic. So we got together, it was me, you, and Alan.
Yes, sir.
And you made pizza and wings.
Yeah. And
they were good.
Not my first rodeo in that department. So it's pretty much all I've been. If I did nothing else over the pandemic, I got really good at making pizza, and the wings in recent months.
Your craft is exemplary, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
They were very enjoyable, and I will simply say that from now on, when we can get back to regular game nights, if you roll out with a bowl of pretzels, I will be like, what is this pittance you bring to me? you show me the promised land, and then you bring me this?
Oh, crap. So I set a standard, in other words?
You did. You have set a new standard.
Oh, darn. I have to make pizza.
Just think of us as guinea pigs.
Sure. I'll pilot anything you want on you guys.
So, but yeah, Revolution, a lot of fun. Great seeing you guys again, getting to hang out with you. Fortunately, you are blessed with a living room that can accommodate social distancing.
Carl, there's a Trent Reznor-esque distortion coming across on your end, so I say we just work through it. Okay, it's gone.
All right. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I like to throw the occasional curveball.
And how?
So, getting then to my week's proper, my amazing, beautiful, lovely wife Julie has a passion for a film that I do not, and the film is called Xanadu.
Okay.
I am not a fan of this film. It's, I believe it was Gene Kelly's last on-screen performance, which is very unfortunate. Yeah, but she loves it, and I do not besmirch her love for that at all. I may poke the occasional fun at, but I felt, I've been reminded by Mark Bernardin on the Fat Man Beyond podcast of the existence of another film that I love in the same way she loves Xanadu. One of those lesser known films that only a certain age group is really going to know if you knew it. It's definitely one of those HBO classics. And I was like, oh God, this movie, I forgot how much I love this movie. And so I decided it was time that Julie experienced the rock and roll fable from another time in another place called Streets of Fire.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of or seen Streets of Fire?
I have not.
Okay, so it is literally like I don't want to say a rock and roll fairy tale, but fable. It literally says in the beginning, a rock and roll fable. And it's structured very much like that. It is the feature film debut of one Diane Lane. I believe she was like 19 or 20 when she made it. She plays Ellen Aim, and she is in a band, and the band is performing, and she is kidnapped by a biker gang.
Okay.
And her ex-boyfriend, Tom Cody, has to come in and rescue her. But he also has to deal with her sniveling manager / current boyfriend, played by a very young Rick Moranis.
Okay.
We're talking like younger than Ghostbusters, Rick Moranis. Drew, this film was one of the one of the key inspirations for the video game Streets of Rage, which, surprisingly enough, is actually going to come up again later in the show. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you would enjoy it. Now, granted, I had to rent it because I own like a DVD copy, and it's one of like the first DVDs. So I was like, I'm sure this is available in a better picture and sound quality. So she watched it with me. Does not have the love for it that I have, so to speak. Because the film is, because it's once upon a time, air finger quotes, is another time in another place. There's no defined time frame or location that this takes place in. So a lot of the aesthetics are very like 1950s noir, but with a lot of neon too. So she's like, did it take place here in the 50s or in the 80s? I couldn't tell. I'm like, it took place in another time, in another place. That's all you need to know.
Yes.
So I definitely recommend it, folks. If you haven't seen Streets of Fire, go watch Streets of Fire. If you have seen Streets of Fire, send us an email. Tell us how awesome Streets of Fire is. If you're going to send us an email and tell us that Streets of Fire is terrible, spoilers, I'm probably not going to read it. Side note, spoilers, that's probably not true. I will probably still read it. So, okay, there was that. Drew, I have 2 coffee-related things from the past couple weeks.
All right.
I have added another weapon in my arsenal of brewing coffee. I got an American Press coffee maker. And I've been curious to try one out for some time. And I got it the first couple times I used it. I was like, okay, this is good. But then I adjusted some things, and oh boy, stuff got real good real quick. So if you're asking, what is the difference between an American press and a French press?
That's what I was thinking.
An American press is more a single cup maker.
Okay.
And you put the coffee into a receptacle, and you push that receptacle through the water. And it is a pressure infusion, whereas a French press is immersion. French press, the coffee grounds and the water just kind of hanging out together, and that's where your extraction happens. And then after a certain amount of time, you just press down on the plunger just to push the grounds to the bottom. With an American press, you're actually pressure infusing the water through the coffee. So it's really kind of interesting. As you get like halfway through it, you have this container, and the bottom half is water, clear water, and the top half is coffee. Just an interesting visual.
I see.
So the flavors that this produces is very similar to a French press in boldness of flavor and also body of flavor. Body being how the volume of liquid of the coffee feels in your mouth, like the texture, like a thicker feel to it. Mm-hmm. That is traditionally associated with a French press. This has that, but the below the surface flavor is much more refined, yet much more out of it. And I've been using it a lot since I got it, and I'm trying little adjustments here and there. I'm noticing little adjustments on this go longer than little adjustments on like a French press. So I'm very much enjoying this. It's called an American Press coffee maker. I highly recommend one if you're ever so inclined. The other coffee thing that I had this week, Drew, was I got to try one of the highest forms of coffee bean available. I got to finally sample the Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee bean this past week. Now you're probably asking yourself, Carl, why is this such a high standard coffee bean? Let's be honest. I know you're not actually asking yourself that, but I'm going to tell you anyway, because that's the service we offer here at the Devil's Due. We educate as well as entertain. So the Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee bean is grown in shockingly, the Blue Mountain region of Jamaica. And the environment, the elevation, the humidity, everything in the environment is perfect for growing coffee and creates a very unique and very good flavored coffee bean. Each bean is hand inspected before it's sent out. So it is rarer than most other coffee beans because a typical coffee farm, coffee producing area of the world will be able to produce roughly 150 million pounds of coffee a year. The Blue Mountain region of Jamaica produces roughly 5 million pounds of coffee a year. And about 70% of that is purchased by Japan. So every once in a great while, Premier Gourmet will get this bean in, and it is considerably more expensive than your standard coffee bean. So this time I had a little extra scratch, so I treated myself to this, and oh boy, Drew, it lived up to the expectations. Easily one of, if not the best cups of coffee I've ever had.
Very nice.
Very, very enjoying of it much, and I can't speak anymore. Okay, what else we got here? So, a couple other additions to the things geeky that are purchased. I got in the week since we last had an episode, I got my Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver hero packs for Marvel Champions. Have played through multiple games with Quicksilver. One game so far with Scarlet Witch. Both are incredibly enjoyable. The design space they're exploring in this game is really opening up, and things they're doing with characters to make them very distinct is really cool. Next month begins the Guardians of the Galaxy cycle. So there is a campaign box coming out that comes with Rocket and Groot. And then in May, we get Star-Lord and Gamora hero packs. And then June, we get a Drax hero pack. So, and I believe the last one will be a Nebula hero pack before they move on to other things. So those are very enjoyable. Drew, I've discussed a couple times before on the show how the young lad and the missus have gotten into Legos over the past year. Well, I've thrown my hat into the Lego ring in a big way. I got the Lego Ultimate Collector Set 1989 Batmobile from the film. And oh boy, Drew, when I say I threw my hat into the ring, I threw my hat into the ring.
You dove into the deep end of the pool.
This glorious thing is just over 3,300 pieces and 25 separate bags for construction.
That
your
is
typical
bananas, man.
Yeah, your average Lego set is, Julie's Stranger Things Lego set, which is pretty expansive and pretty detailed. I think was about 12 or 13 bags. So yeah, it's pretty nuts.
So I've been following your progress, and it seems like so many of these pieces just seem like superfluous. Like, did it have to be this many pieces, or did they design it just to be that many pieces because they could get money for it?
I think what I found in the past year as Julie and William have gotten into Lego is that every piece is picked for a reason, and there's very little fat on the bone of your average Lego set.
Okay.
In these Ultimate Collector sets, from what I've seen, which the Batmobile is, everything is painstakingly engineered to serve a purpose. Like, I assembled the front drivetrain of the Batmobile, and the wheel, like the front drivetrain up through the steering wheel. You turn the steering wheel, and the wheels turn.
Oh, wow.
It's
I didn't realize it was that precise or that detailed.
Yes, very much so. And it's not like one piece for the front fender and one piece for the rear fender. It's like these things are made up of dozens of pieces, and it's all everything is structurally reinforced to be a solid singular body construction as possible. So I'm very, I'm enjoying it. I'm also the engineering that has to go into these things is just mind blowing.
So that thing looks pretty sizable.
It is, yes.
And if I'm to, it doesn't. These things are arbitrary, so I just have to laugh at it in a way.
Yeah.
But when you showed me the Batman figure that comes with it, the little Batman Lego man,
right?
He's so out of scale with the Batmobile.
Yeah, for most of the Ultimate Collector sets, the minifigures are not meant to be to scale. Like this, the minifigures are kind of set aside as a side display piece because there's a panel that you put a sticker on and it says 1989 Batmobile, length, width, max horsepower, stats of it, and the minifigs are just kind of meant to go on that as a nice little bonus item.
All right.
So he is not meant to sit in and drive this particular Batmobile.
Understood.
Mainly because the steering wheel of the Batmobile is about as big as his torso. So yeah.
All
so
right.
some of them, the Ultimate Collector Millennium Falcon, yeah, I believe those minifigures are to scale with that. But a lot of other of the Ultimate Collector sets, the minifigures you get with them are not to scale. They're not intended to be to scale. So this one comes with a Batman, a Joker, and Vicky Vale minifigure.
Wow.
And the Batman is very well done 1989 looking Batman in comparison to the other Batman William got with one of his sets that's just like a kid set. So yeah, it's really cool. It's been a lot of fun putting it together. Yeah, when it's going to be done, I have no idea.
You just press onward, and that's all that matters.
It's being added to the list of what will happen first. Will Carl finish the Batmobile? Will Carl get a vaccine? Or will Carl get a PlayStation 5? We have the vaccine scheduled for May, but it is scheduled. So yeah, we'll see what happens first.
All right.
And then lastly, I have two quick reviews to give. I've seen two movies over the past 2 weeks of note. The first one being Raya and the Last Dragon, the latest premiere offering on Disney Plus, where it was a film that was going to come out in theaters, but if you want to watch it on Disney Plus, you pay $30. Which, I mean, granted, if you're one person paying that amount, if you're a single person, I can see how that might be a little too much to pay. But for myself, my wife, we had William, $30, we're basically paying what we would at a movie theater. So we got that, and it was absolutely enjoyable. It's Disney doing Disney things. It's very unique. It's a very like original story, and the visual design of it is very good, and it's got your typical Disney enjoyment. We've definitely gotten our money out of it. William has watched it, I think, about 11 times since last Saturday. So $30 well spent there. So I would definitely recommend it if you are considering it. Gets the duty 2 thumbs up. The other film that Julie and I saw was the sequel to Coming to America, entitled Coming to the Number 2 America.
I see what they did there.
Yes.
So I have yet to watch it.
It just said Coming Back to America. No, you had to do something clever with the number.
Yeah, well, fan four stick and whatnot. So, what's your verdict on Coming to America? I have yet to watch it, but the trailer left me with mixed feelings.
It is perfectly serviceable and enjoyable. You will laugh. It is essentially a, hey, let's get the band back together and play the greatest hits with a new track or two thrown in. It's kind of the original story, but in reverse. They add something to the looking for a wife scene from the original film when they were speaking to all the different women.
Oh yes, I love that scene.
So they they add Leslie Jones in there.
Okay.
And Akeem has a son they didn't know about.
Yep.
And he goes to America to bring his son back to Zamunda to be the king because he needs a male heir. It's perfectly fun. I enjoyed it. I would if you enjoy the original, you will enjoy this one. Pretty much every character you would want to return from the original does, and some that you would not expect would have returned also pop up again. And it's fun. It's fine. It's for if you have Amazon Prime, it's definitely worth your time to watch it. If you're a fan of the original, you will enjoy this one. It's not to the point where I'm saying you have to go watch it now. If you ever feel so inclined, knock yourself out. It's fine. I enjoyed it. I laughed. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's let's get the band back together, play the greatest hits, a couple new tracks.
Well, all right.
And they do a great rendition of a Prince song in it, and it's not like one of his more popular songs, but it's one that, like, if you were watching MTV in the early to mid 90s, you're like, oh, they're breaking that out? So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Good times.
All right.
So, check my notes. That is my week's. Amazing how long this drums on when you actually take notes. Dear listeners, we would love to hear from you. We would like to hear about your weeks. We would like to hear any questions you have for the show, any comments you have for the show, any things you want us to talk about. We would love to hear from you. If you want to communicate with us, contact with us, reach out and touch someone, you can do so at the following social media locations. You can follow us on Twitter at Devils Do Pod. You can like our Facebook page at facebook.com/Devils Do Pod. You can email us at thedevilsdopod@gmail.com, or you can find all these resources available to you on our website, thedevilsdopodcast.com. Drew, that being said, we do have some emails. We're going back a couple weeks on some of these, so I will read them in the order of which I received them.
All right.
And the first two emails we have are from the Akeem and Zemi of of the Devil's Due. I'll let them decide which one's which.
Okay.
Mr. J.J. Semino and Mr. Alan Waiters. Starting with Mr. J.J. Semino. This is back from March 3rd. Drew and Carl, what do you feel is Kelsey Grammer's definitive role, and why is it not Sideshow Bob, but Lieutenant Tom Dodge from Down Periscope?
Wow. I have not seen Down Periscope in a minute, but I can't deny that pretty much that really is Kelsey Grammer when you really break it down.
I have never seen Down Periscope.
I haven't seen it since I was a wee lad watching HBO in the 90s. That was a classic HBO in the 90s movie. There's a lot of those, and Jay and I can go off on many a conversation about just how many of those movies that we have seen and have shared a reference for. Let's see. I guess at the moment, my current definitive Kelsey Grammer role is actually Stinky Pete, the prospector, because I've seen Toy Story 2 about 745 times in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, kids will do that. Kids will do that.
It's fine because it's still a good movie, so I'm not entirely sick of it. But I mean, I think it goes without saying that Fraser Crane is the definitive Kelsey Grammer role.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Sideshow Bob. The Cape Fear episode of Simpsons is my all-time favorite episode. And he figures prominently in that, but yeah, it's Fraser Crane. Yeah. And now, granted, I have not seen the entire series of Frasier. I have seen, good amounts of it, and I will say that, like, Cheers Frasier is still the definitive Frasier.
Fair enough. I couldn't really speak to either, so.
You never watched Cheers?
No, I was too young for Cheers.
I was too young for Cheers, too. I still watched it.
You're older than me, so.
Drew.
Pass me by. Yes.
Carl has put this in my brain. Do you foresee the next step in the Horsemen being an AEW by the renewal of the feud between them and Sting and RoboCop?
I'm gonna do a quick search because I want to know.
You're doing a search by the sound of your keyboard.
Exactly. Oh crap, Carl! I guess I don't think it's in the cards, man. And I'm gonna tell you why.
Why is that?
AEW, who is on the Turner Network, TNT, which is owned by AT&T, which is, the big Warner umbrella. Unfortunately, our shining knight of old Detroit is owned by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. So I don't know that the corporate synergy is going to allow for RoboCop to make his grand pro wrestling return. Not to say it can't happen, but it's all about corporate synergy these days. You are more likely to see Batman in a pro wrestling ring before RoboCop.
Would not surprise me.
Because corporate synergy, baby.
Yep. So, Drew, maybe a quick background on why we're talking about RoboCop in a wrestling ring.
Back in the 80s, Carl, when you could market R-rated movies to kids.
When you could give them Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
And Happy Meals. And Toy Line.
Well, yes. R-rated movies. Yes. What a wild time. Anyway, we turned out okay, right? Right?
I mean, in comparison to some, sure.
I guess so.
Rambo had a Saturday morning cartoon, Drew.
Sure did.
Rambo.
You sure did. So did RoboCop, for that matter. Anyway, RoboCop made a run-in. He didn't really run in. He kind of, RoboCop paced in. Into a WCW wrestling event and saved Sting from a steel cage.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s. This happened. You can look it up.
Was it Peter Weller in the
No. No.
Thank God.
No. No. Much like the voice of Woody in Toy Story, if it's not the big pictures, Tom Hanks doesn't show up for the little stuff. His brother. I swear to God, his brother Jim Hanks does the other stuff. I looked this up. I can't believe it's true, but it is.
Sounds very much like him.
Peter Weller did not show up for that. Maybe he has a brother Jim Weller. I don't know. It's possible. But yeah, I don't know. Someone who fit the suit probably did the run-in.
They did not get film accurate RoboCop. They got Buffalo Auto Show RoboCop.
I saw Buffalo Auto Show RoboCop as a child, and it disappointed the crap out of me.
So did I.
Yeah,
I was like, sir, I can tell your suit is styrofoam.
Yeah.
That's not good.
This is bringing back so many memories. Also, speaking of the Jim Hanks voice, the Lamp Life short on Disney Plus. It's the Toy Story 4 short about Bo Peep, on Disney Plus, Toy Story. Much like Toy Story 4, unnecessary, but it's worse because Annie Potts is the only original voice in that short. So Woody and Buzz and the other characters that pop in, they're granted they're not in it for very long, but they're in it just long enough when they speak that oh God, that's not Tom Hanks. That might not even be Jim Hanks.
Is that Bob Hanks?
And if that is Jim Hanks, he has a cold.
Is that Bob Hanks, the third cousin that we only call him when we really need?
Yeah. Anyway, don't try and pass off your C-list on me, Disney. I'm too smart for that. Looking at you, puppy dog pals. Anyway. What a travesty that is. Oh, God. Anyway. Season 4. What have they done?
He goes to me, Carl, will you be angling to be the new CEO of Blue Cross come December? I will not turn down the job if they want to offer it. Let's just say. Now, moving on to Mr. Alan Waiters. This is an email from March 4th, because I say that because we do have another email from Alan.
All right.
Hello, gentlemen. Can you believe it's been a year since COVID? Yes, Alan. Yes, we can.
Sadly, yes.
Carl and Drew, what is your favorite comic cover of all time and why?
Ooh, wow. Oh, man. That is tricky.
I feel that the cover is a lost art form in comics.
Well, yes and no. Mostly yes. You still get a great one from time to time, but there was a time when the cover was it almost told us it condensed the crux of the story that the issue was telling into a single dynamic image, generally speaking.
Yes.
And then eventually covers just became pinup pieces.
Yeah, more often than not, they are static art.
Yeah, interchangeable.
Not really informing what is inside the issue.
And if they do, it's super metaphorical and vague.
Yeah.
So, that is a tough one for sure. When I think about iconic covers, because it's hard to say which is my favorite, but if they're iconic, they're probably a favorite just because that's why they're iconic, right? I think about things like Wolverine #1, where he's got his mask off and he's got his claws popped and he's giving you the come here, gesture.
Yep.
Iconic. I think about the Mike Zeck Punisher covers from his original miniseries.
Yep.
And then you get into something like the Return of Elektra cover, where Matt he has that look on his face, and he's looking up into the darkness, and he's like at Elektra's grave, and you see her in silhouette on the splash page on the cover.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Phenomenal cover. And then just because it's such a brilliantly executed cover, and I don't know, Amazing Spider-Man 129, the first appearance of the Punisher. Great cover.
Yeah, no lies detected.
Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to, and I'm not even going to pick out a specific issue because I don't know that I could come up with one, although the silent issue definitely has an iconic cover, that being G.I. Joe number 21, but a lot of G.I. Joe covers were fantastic pieces of artwork.
Yeah.
Like, just super dynamic and iconic. So those are the ones that come to mind for me when I think about my favorite covers.
So for me, if I was forced to pick one, and this is going to sound funny, seeing as I was just bemoaning static art pieces as comic book covers.
Mm-hmm.
But just because it's such an iconic image, probably Spider-Man #1, the McFarlane Spider-Man.
Yeah, iconic. Yeah.
The Crouched in the Cavern of Webs cover. The honorable mentions would probably be the classic Dark Knight Returns Lightning Bolt cover.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. Amazing Spider-Man #1 always to me is such a great cover.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't like that one as much.
If I had a choice between to own Amazing Spider-Man #1 or Amazing Fantasy 15, I'd probably pick Amazing Spider-Man #1.
Wow.
For some reason, it's just always had more personal value to me than Amazing Fantasy 15.
All right.
Trying to think. The Norm Brayfogle Batman covers were just amazing. I still to this day my all-time favorite Batman artist. Trying to think what else. Transformers, along with G.I. Joe, had some very iconic covers. The one that comes to mind most readily is I believe it's Transformers #5. It was the painted cover with Shockwave on it, and burned into the wall it says "Are all dead?" with a question mark. That's just such a great cover. Would you mention G.I. Joe? G.I. Joe #1, I think, is a fantastic cover.
Yeah.
That's iconic. Star Wars #1.
Yeah.
Very iconic cover. I don't think what else. Marvel Knights Daredevil #1. Just like.
Yeah, that's a good one. But
fantastic.
I almost said that one. The only thing that held me back is that if I had to pick a Daredevil cover, to be honest, it would have to be something from the Maleev era, just because Alex Maleev was born to draw Daredevil.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are all very respectable choices for sure.
I believe it's. Oh god, I'm such a terrible Spider-Man fan because I don't remember the exact cover, the exact number. But the issue where Gwen Stacy actually dies.
I can
Spider-Man is swinging towards all the portraits of the people in his life. It's like someone's going to die, and I don't know who.
Yep.
Fantastic. Obviously, the classic Green Goblin pulling Peter Parker tied up behind the Goblin glider. Fantastic. But yeah, the just for personal value, because it's like really when I got full blown into reading comics. as a collector / reader would definitely be the McFarlane Spider-Man #1. All right, so moving on. Alan asks, Carl, if John Krasinski plays Reed Richards in the new Fantastic Four, would you like to see Jimmy Woo have a scene with him for an Office reunion? I never watched The Office, so sure.
That makes me laugh. That's funny. Now I want to see it.
Drew, it has been 4 years since Breath of the Wild and the Switch made its debut. How do you think the game has held up after 4 years, and is it still a masterpiece? Also, when the Switch initially came out, did you think it would be this successful?
Of course, it's still a masterpiece, and it holds up 100%. It's a brilliant game that stands the test of time. I'm not going to nitpick it, even though others will. It's a transcendent game that everyone fell in love with for a very good reason. Like, there's a reason why it was so successful. Did I think the Switch would be this successful? Honestly, as a Nintendo fan, no, I did not. So it definitely warms my heart that it is. I as a video game fan, the world of video games would be a lot worse without Nintendo in it. So and thriving. So yeah, I'm thrilled that the Switch is doing so well, and I could not have predicted that it would be as successful as it is.
Cool. All right, moving on. An email from Mr. Cyrus Moore.
All right.
Greetings, gentlemen. It's been a while just catching up with the pod. It's a little late, but if you remember, I mentioned last year that my Chiefs and your Bills might meet each other in the playoffs. And wouldn't you know it, they sure did. Quite a game, but in the end, we experienced the same familiar pain. He goes on to say, Buck Frady. So just
yes.
Switch around a couple letters there.
Forever and
says,
ever.
Anyway, and I'm not on that train.
You should be.
I mean, no, I shouldn't.
Yeah, you should be.
The man's the greatest ever to play the position, and there's no evidence to the contrary.
There's evidence enough, and I still loathe him as a human being. So he can go to hell, and he can go to hell and die.
You go to hell. You go to hell, you die. Don't you have to die first?
No.
Okay.
Make it last. Make the pain last.
Anyway, I'm writing as I'm listening to the favorite NES, Nintendo Entertainment System discussion, because I'm a natural contrarian. It makes me think of my least favorite NES game. As a child, I was a huge fan of the Ghostbusters cartoon, toys alike.
Yeah.
So I begged my parents to rent the Ghostbusters game for me. They finally did, and 5-year-old me was crushed.
Yeah.
Couldn't figure it out. The memory remained repressed until 25 years later when I passed by it at a vintage stock for $5. I figure I'm 30 and I'm a seasoned gamer. I'm going to avenge my childhood. I buy it, bring it home, and I still can't figure it out. What a complete heap of garbage. What's your least favorite NES title, and do you have any similar experiences? P.S. After I bought it, I later discovered the Angry Video Game Nerd, who has 3 videos dedicated to how bad the game was, could have saved me $5. You live and you learn. So, Drew, your least favorite NES game of all time?
Oh God, the list is long. And I like long enough where I couldn't even sit here and name them off to you without. I mean, there's a lot. For as great and as ubiquitous and as etched in our memory as the NES was, it had a lot of stinkers on it. Now, it had a lot of transcendent games on it as well, but it had a lot of frustrating games that many a kid was disappointed with when he rented from wherever, be it the corner store or a Blockbuster Video. All I could say is thank God for the rental program back then, because if you had to buy them before playing them, man, what a racket that would have been, because there was a lot of stinkers on the shelves. I would probably just point to anything that the Angry Video Game Nerd has covered, and over the last, I'm going to say this and feel extremely old, going on 20 years almost, 15 years. How long has the Video Game Nerd been at it? A long time. He's kind of phoning it in the last few years. But in any case, the early era of the nerd, he covered all the real stinkers that we all hated as kids. Simon's Quest, terrible. The Ghostbusters game was especially disappointing. I share Cyrus's disappointment wholeheartedly as a Ghostbusters fanatic as a child. That game really disappoints. However, I will tell him, if he has the means to acquire it, he should really look into New Ghostbusters 2 on the NES. It was released in 1990, which is late in the NES's lifespan. But New Ghostbusters 2 is phenomenal. It was actually only released, I believe, in Japan and Europe. So you might have to get it through less than legal means, let's say. But trust me, it's attainable. Let's see. Yeah, it was never released on the NES in America. So go out of your way to find a way to play it on an emulator. I'll say that much. It's a fantastic game. It is the Ghostbusters game that we always wanted on the NES, but never got to play.
I will say this. If you ever want a bizarre Ghostbusters gaming experience, look up Ghostbusters for the Sega Genesis.
Oh, I've seen with the big heads and the
Yep.
That always made me. I was always curious about that game.
I had that game. It was a lot of fun. It was really great, but like it's not like it. I don't remember it specifically being based off the movie or anything. Is a very. I believe it was probably. You could probably say it was a Metroidvania game.
Did it have a map in save states?
I believe so.
Hmm.
I don't 100% remember if it had save states.
6 levels from what I'm reading right now. So not quite the same. To be a proper Metroidvania, you need a map and you need backtracking areas and yada yada. But in any case, I do remember that game, and I always thought it looked kind of cool, to be honest with you. I thought the graphics were kind of fun in a weird way.
Yeah.
In any case, something about Ghostbusters. Oh, that NES game. Oh, terrible. But New Ghostbusters 2, good. And there was something else I was going to bring up. And maybe it was
your
the Genesis
least
game.
favorite.
Well, I mean,
Your
Ghostbusters. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. On top of Ghostbusters, if you were a kid as well back in the day, there was you had any sort of interest in movies, there was probably movie-based games. So almost all of them were bad. So Back to the Future, I hated that game. That game was terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible game. And the movies are so good. So it was very disappointing. That X-Men game, the first one, terrible.
Oh.
Terrible.
Oh. Folks, if it had LJN on it, usually just kind of steer clear.
Not always, but 90% of the time they were publishing garbage. Yeah, a lot of dud games.
My least favorite NES game of all time was a game called Splunker.
God, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, I hated it because, like, all right, think of your average Mario block size, like a question block. Now, put it on the ground, put Mario on top of it. You would think he could just walk off it and keep going forward. Not in Splunker. If you fell like anything more than 3 pixels, you were dead.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Oh, God, I hated that game. And that was before renting the games was very common. It was early in the NES life cycle. And so renting was still kind of hit or miss wherever you went. So a lot of times you just had to roll the dice, take your chance. Oh boy, did I roll some snake eyes on Splunker. It's bad. It's so bad. All right, Cyrus, good to hear from you again. Thank you for your email. Lastly, another email from Mr. Alan Waiters, which was sent today. Hello, gents. It was great to be with you in person as we socially distance for Revolution. You as well, Alan. Carl and Drew, March 10th just passed, Mario Day.
Yeah.
What is the hardest level in a Mario game that frustrated you? Have you played Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga on the Game Boy Advance? It is considered the best Mario PG after Super Mario RPG. So,
Gotcha.
Most frustrating level in Mario.
There had to be several in Mario 64, and it's mostly because of the primitive nature of the 3D graphics engine at the time. The camera controls mainly.
Yes.
Which one specifically? There's one late in the late game. I think it might be a clock tower of some kind. I'm going deep into my memory banks now, so I don't recall exactly. But that always bothered me. The World 8s in the original Super Mario Brothers were a chore. I don't have as much of a problem with anything in 3 or Super Mario World. Those games are pretty brilliantly designed. They don't really infuriate and make you want to rage quit too much. So that's what comes to mind for me when I think of my least favorite levels.
My least favorite level is the level you play in Mario Brothers. Not Super Mario Brothers, just Mario Brothers.
The original.
Because how often have you tried jumping up to a level to kick a knocked over crab or turtle down, and you just kind of sail over the crab or turtle, and you try to turn back around to try and kick them off, but they flip themselves back up, and then you die.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason that game didn't quite launch the Nintendo ship into orbit.
Yeah. That game is frustrating.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But it did introduce Luigi.
Yeah, that's true. Did you play the Superstar Saga on the Game Boy Advance?
I did not. No, I did not.
All right, I did not either. Carl, will you get a Millennium Falcon Lego set after you are done with the Batmobile? I mean, maybe at some point I would like to get one for William, but it's not going to be like the ultimate collector one, because that one goes for like $500-$600. And if I get that and build it, a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old is not touching that. Yeah. So maybe we'll see. Drew, thanks for introducing me to The Expanse.
Yeah.
Will you be watching Invincible when it debuts next week on Amazon Prime?
Ooh, it's next week? Wow. Yeah, I suppose I will have to check it out. I don't know how I feel about like I love Invincible. You know this. I have shouted from the rooftops that it's the best superhero comic in the 21st century. I hope that this adaptation is good. I think I'm just kind of like over comic adaptation. I don't know. Some excite me, some don't. For being such a big fan of Invincible, you think I'd be more like excited for this, but I feel like it's so near and dear to me that I'm going to treat any adaptation with at least a little bit of skepticism. I guess I just don't want to be hurt by these things. I don't want these things to be hurt actually by their adaptation. And I don't want other people to see an adaptation of something that I really hold dear to me, and I don't want it to be judged if it's not up to the standards that I feel it should be.
Is the fact that it's an animated series helping or hurting your anticipation?
I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of hurting.
Okay.
Animation does not do it for me as much these days. Then again, I don't know if you could do a live action Invincible. It would be nigh impossible for budgetary reasons. And on top of that, I feel like the tone of the thing would get lost. So, if you're gonna do, I don't know, if you're gonna do the thing, or if it's gonna stay drawn and remain in like a comic style, you might as well just read the comic. To me, an animated adaptation is it's borderline superfluous. There's no real need for it, but I love Invincible, so I will check it out. I just fear that I fear it's not gonna live up to what I think Invincible is, and some of the trailers kind of lead me to think that.
Alrighty, cool. I will probably check it out myself, having read only a couple issues of the comic. Yeah, we'll see what's shaking with it. Okay, so that does it for our emails. Thank you to everyone who wrote in. Moving on to news this week, we don't really have any news. Very little, in fact. The one thing of note I did want to bring up, it was announced earlier this week that .emu, the company that brought us and I don't say this lightly, but the best side-scrolling beat-em-up ever in Streets of Rage 4, announced this week that they are bringing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game out called Shredder's Revenge. The teaser trailer for it was largely just animation and a redo of the classic theme song. They showed a little bit of gameplay. It's being done in a very classic bit style as far as the visual goes. And it seems to be spot on with the classic arcade game, the original arcade game, Turtles in Time, those games. Doing the old throw the foot soldier at the screen. It's all classic cartoon show art style and influence. So, the foot soldiers looking to be robots, Bebop and Rocksteady looking proper. If they can put the depth of gameplay into this that they put in the Streets of Rage 4, just shut up and take my money. Because after I saw this trailer, I was really excited, first off, having loving those original Ninja Turtle arcade games. But then also at the same time I was like, man, now I want to go back and play some Streets of Rage 4. That game goes down so smooth anytime you pick it up. It's so good. It's so good. Was it my game in 2020? I think it might have been my game in 2020. It probably was. I like Star Wars Squadrons was great. I loved it. But Streets of Rage, oh man. That game was great. I'm sorry, I need to go have a cigarette. Streets of Rage 4 again. So good. So Drew, your thoughts on this announcement?
Exciting, I guess, if you're a fan of that style Turtles game, which, I mean, it's iconic at this point. It really is. I have mixed feelings on it. Maybe this is just that's my statement of 2021. I have mixed feelings. It looks great, and I know a lot of people are really excited about it. I'm sure it will be good. I mean, I'm sure it will live up to what it's supposed to be. If you're a fan of the side-scrolling Turtles arcade game, this looks to be made just for you, right? So, Excellent. Everyone have a good time. I hope it's everything you want it to be. I have played those games to death, and and they're fun, but they are a bit shallow. So I hope it's good. I hope y'all have fun. If there's one thing I'm a little perturbed about, not perturbed, but I want to like step in as like the voice of, I don't even know what I'm trying to say here, but I saw a lot of sentiment of people saying like, this is the best thing that they've done with the Turtles in 20 years or whatever, since the 90s.
Yeah.
And this is usually being said by people around my age, maybe a smidge younger. And I just want to like stop them and say like, dude, you realize that since the 90s, there have been no less than like 3 iterations of Turtle cartoons, I believe, right? And
more than that
probably, but at least 2 of them were very successful and highly beloved by their audience, especially the CG one that came out. It's not the most recent one, but maybe the one before that.
No, that was the film that came out.
No.
It wasn't
no. There was a cartoon that was computer animated. It's not the TMNT I'm thinking of. It's the cartoon series that came out after. And people love that cartoon. That cartoon even crossed over with the 80s, 90s cartoon. There was an episode where they did like a multiversal collision and they met the Turtles from the old show and stuff, and it was pretty wild. I think I saw that one. It was pretty cool. In any case,
okay, yeah, I remember what you're thinking of now.
Yeah,
that you're thinking of 2 different shows. I remember the CG one. The CG one was the Nickelodeon one.
Yes,
the one that did the Turtle multiverse thing, that was one of the kind of Saturday morning cartoon ones. And yeah, I saw that multiverse thing too. It was really cool because they even interacted with the original comic Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So all I want to say is, just because a game coming out 1,000% targeted at you and your nostalgic feelings for a thing that you grew up with when you were a kid, just because you think that thing is the best thing that they've done since the 90s doesn't mean that that's true. There's been a million iterations of the Turtles, and to whatever, to the kids who grew up with whatever iteration they had, that's probably their favorite and best one. And like, I don't think it's anyone's right to speak with authority that, this throwback thing is the best thing they could have done. I don't know that that's true at all. In fact, my feelings on the game being mixed, one of the things I'm mixed about, and I brought this up in our chat even, is like, you know what I would really like to see rather than just another arcade beat 'em up like Turtles in Time? I'd like to see them kind of remake the original Ninja Turtles game for NES, except do it, with modern technology and modern abilities to make a game like that live up to its promise. Now, that game gets a lot of hate too, but I actually like...
So you're saying you want it to be playable?
It's a playable game. I like that game. Perfectly fine game. What I would like to see is it's fine. Just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's bad. I'd like to see a game where you get to play as all 4 of the Turtles at your leisure. Like you can swap between them. Have an overworld, like Grand Theft Auto with the Turtles, or better yet, PlayStation 4 Spider-Man with the Turtles. Like, give me that game. Yeah. Give me that spin on this. Give me something new with this IP that I can enjoy, rather than just falling back on nostalgia.
Yeah, no, I get that. I would love to see that as well. Something like, give us a Ninja Turtles game that emphasizes the ninja.
Sure.
Like, give me, the stealth boards from the Arkham game, but with Ninja Turtles. Something like that. Something that, is a little more serious in tone along the lines of the comics, past and present.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd definitely get behind that. Turtles seems to be one of those things, kind of like Transformers now, where there's such a diverse generational pool of fans for it. Like certain fans have their certain versions of it that they identify with, and that they say, okay, that's my Turtles, that's my Transformers, things like that. And so there's definitely a very deep, rich well to draw from for something like that. As far as the throwback, the .emu game, I'm just like, if they put the combo system in that Streets of Rage had, that's going to be a very, like, the aesthetics will be of a retro game, but it will be a very updated gameplay feel to it. So I'm probably a day one purchase on this just from what I've seen so far. But no, I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree with it at all. I would like to see something more, legit, like for lack of a better term, AAA game given to Turtles, because when you think about it, aside from retro throwbacks, modern Turtle video game history is spotty at best.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't play the one that Platinum Games did, but I mean, Platinum Games did make a Ninja Turtles video game, so yeah, I don't know how good it was, but people seem to swear by it.
I heard most people say just play Bayonetta again.
Yes.
So yeah. So yeah, there's that. We'll see how that goes. Have you been? I know your to read stack is large and distinguished. Have you been getting The Last Ronin?
I have not.
Okay.
I know.
I mean, it's just been 2 issues. So.
Yeah, and they sold out in quick order. A lot of people are all in on that. So if you're trying to get those now, they're fairly valuable at the moment, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Well, no, the concept intrigued me, but not enough to actually buy it.
Yeah, I've been reading it. It's good. It's more of like I want to see what happened.
Yeah.
Then like what, like the story kind of jumps back and forward, between present day and past, and what happened to the Turtles and why. All right, if you want to read this, spoilers warning starting. So the whole crux of the story is there is one turtle left. The other 3 are dead. In the beginning of the first issue, you don't know who it is, because they don't identify the turtle at all. He has all the turtles' weapons. And so you don't realize until the end that it's Michelangelo. Which, kind of going in, I figured it kind of would be Michelangelo, because
he's a fan favorite. He always was.
Not so much he's the fan favorite, but like, of the 4 turtles, if you're going to tell that story, like, he's almost the one that makes the most sense to tell that story with. Like the one you would, air finger quotes, least expect to be the one to survive and outlive the other 3 turtles.
I suppose I could see it.
Yeah.
I could see a story with any one of them being the last one to live, to be honest. But
yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah. So like the issue number 2 opens up, and like, April pulled Mike out of a bad situation. April's missing her left arm and right leg. She has a daughter named Casey. Yeah. And the second issue tells you how Raph dies.
Gotcha.
Shockingly, his temper got the better of him, and he got into a fight where the odds were stacked against him.
That sounds like a Raph way to go.
Yeah, pretty much. Got a blade shoved up through the bottom of his chin.
Ow.
Yeah. Oh, he got it brutally. Took the person with him though, so there's that. But yeah, it's good. I recommend it if you're a Turtles fan. I'm enjoying it. And the game we'll see. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, folks, if you haven't played Streets of Rage 4, you like side-scrolling beat-em-ups, go get you some Streets of Rage 4.
All right.
It is amazing. All right, so that does it for our news. Unless, Drew, you can think of anything else?
Nothing is jumping out at me, screaming and yelling. So, no.
Alrighty, so let's put a cap on WandaVision.
Let's.
WandaVision wrapped up last week to equal parts adulation and chagrins. A whole bunch of people are really upset because they didn't get something that wasn't promised to them.
That's about the crux of it, to which I just would say to them, LOL, bro.
How's those theories going? Now, to be fair, we theorized.
Oh, of course.
Every fan does that. But at the end of the day, we got a really amazing story about dealing with trauma and grief, and just a great story about a character accepting who she is and her place in the world. So, Drew, what are your thoughts on the last couple episodes of WandaVision?
Great show. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It does open up a lot of doors going forward. As I don't know about a lot, but certainly it sets up the character for a lot more than we ever got in the movies. We explored her character and the Vision's character a lot more than we ever got to in the movies. So for that alone, I'm thankful that the show exists. And, moving forward, spoilers from here on out, obviously, we now know going into the next phase of the MCU, we know that there is a Vision out there. Not exactly the Vision that we know, but one that has his memories at the very least.
Yes. Hashtag Vision so white.
Yeah. And we know that Wanda is far more powerful than we ever realized, than she even ever realized, and that she always had that power, and it wasn't necessarily Hydra that gave it to her via the Infinity Stones, that merely tapped into that power more deeply, if you will. And now she is learning about it and trying to do more with it. And what does that mean? Don't know. Could be dangerous. Just like in the comics, I feel like Wanda is kind of she's a bit of a loose cannon. She's a bit of a dangerous element that we have out there in the wild.
Yes. I recently grabbed a trade of, I was in the mood to read some classic stuff, and Pulp 716 had a old West Coast Avengers trade. It was the first appearance of White Vision and whatnot. So I was catching up on that, just kind of familiarizing myself more with the comic version of the character, and I really like what they did with Wanda throughout this entire experiment. Just really solid storytelling, as always, from Marvel. Everything just coming full circle, and the show as a whole just so deep and so many layers to it that everything has a meaning in it. You can really go back and watch it again and really probably get a lot more out of it the second time around, because you're looking for things that you know what to look for now and see what they really did. Today on Disney Plus, they released a 1 hour behind the scenes making of. That was really good, really enjoyable. Just the extent that they went through to reproduce period specific sitcoms Like everything was done as it was done back then. Lighting, makeup, set decorations, visual effects, everything was done period specific, which was just fantastic. Yeah, the ending was great. The White Vision, the Ship of Theseus thought experiment, just fantastic. Agatha just being a phenomenal antagonist. Finally getting, I mean, it's kind of geeky, but finally getting a proper Scarlet Witch costume.
Yep.
It was very cool to see.
I didn't expect the introduction of Monica Rambeau and her power set and all that in this, but we got it. I'm happy to see that. That's fun.
So we got 2 stingers. One is with Monica and a discussion with a Skrull, which is probably leading to a combination of Secret Invasion and Captain Marvel 2.
Yep, that's my bet.
And then the other we got, which is probably going to lead in, Wanda, is astral projection learning. She's reading through the Darkhold, making its second appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Originally it showed up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, that doesn't count. So this is its first appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I mean, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Whether or not you want to acknowledge it, it does.
Kevin Feige doesn't acknowledge it, so I'm going to go ahead and just... Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is fine and all, but I think we all wanted it to be something that it was never going to, unfortunately, be, due to the deep, deep fissure between Kevin Feige and Ike Perlmutter. So... Sorry, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know you had a run, but you're in the little side pocket universe where the Heroes Reborn guys are, or something.
Or, not.
Yeah, none of that happened, Carl. Sorry. Ghost Rider doesn't exist in the MCU. Any version of him.
Not that version.
Which I think you'd be happy about anyway, so...
just motorcycle. Johnny Blaze, Danny Ketch.
See, none of it happened, Carl. Don't feel bad. None of it matters.
No, it still happened. I take the bad with the good.
No, it didn't happen. Okay.
So, yeah, that's, and then she hears the, her kid's voice, which we thought went away with the Hex, so it's probably leading into Madness in the Multiverse, second Doctor Strange film.
Yep.
Yeah, good stuff all around.
But Carl, where was Mephisto?
He wasn't there.
No.
And that's okay.
Yes, it's fine.
And Reed Richards didn't show up, and mutants didn't show up, and that's all okay.
Yeah. I'm quite fine with any of it, with all of it, really.
We're gonna get there, folks. Don't worry. My only
gripe with the show, honestly, is, and I'm sure we're gonna get some of this going forward, given how horrible Wanda's actions were to those people, she really didn't get any sort of comeuppance or, I don't know, man. She faced no repercussions for doing a very heinous and torturous act to a sizable number of people. And I don't think they're, and just because they felt bad for her because of her situation, it's yet another instance in the MCU, and I wonder if at some point they'll lead into this, of like superpowered people causing major problems for regular folk. And I wonder if the regular folk are just at some point going to be like, this is a problem for us. These people really make our lives difficult, don't they? I wonder about that, because it seems like things happen and everyone seems to be okay with the powered people, but should they be? Especially when they, take over your mind and make you have their nightmares and things like that. Like, it was kind of messed up.
Yeah, it was pretty messed up.
I just wonder, will there be some repercussions to come?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure on some level there will be. But again, we get into the whole theorizing thing that we've just been besmirching for past 10 minutes or so. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in Madness in the Multiverse. I believe that comes out after Spider-Man.
Yeah. I don't even know if they filmed it yet, so yes.
No Way Home. So, yeah. I mean, I was really happy with WandaVision. I expected it to be good, but it definitely exceeded my expectation. Just fantastic performances all around.
Yeah.
Great story. It's central character driven, like, most of the Marvel stuff really is.
I think that's what everyone forgets. Like, you're so busy plotting out, how they're going to connect X, Y, and Z that you weren't paying attention to the fact that it was a story centered on Wanda.
Yeah, and I think that's Marvel kind of being a victim of their own success in a lot of ways, because the how does it connect is often like the hype and the exciting part, where we, everyone's looking at dessert and we're missing this fantastic main course that's in front of us right now.
Yep.
And so, like, everybody wants to throw out theories and everybody wants to be right about their theories. And when it turns out they're not right, they get all upset and whatnot. Like, I had theories. None of them turned out to be right. I still enjoyed the ride. That's the fun of it. You got to enjoy the ride. And next week we get to take the ride, starts all over again in a very different way with Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I'm very ready for that.
Yes. I've seen a couple little clips here and there, and the buddy cop feel they established in Civil War and throughout, definitely still holding up. Very cool. Enjoy it. I don't know if I haven't heard anything about episode length. If it's going to be like WandaVision, where a lot of them are just a half hour. I mean, I'm greedy and I want more than a half hour, so I hope that's not the case.
The WandaVision 40-minute or so running time is fine by me.
Yeah, but it wasn't like 40 minutes until the last 3 episodes. All the other ones were like a half an hour, and by the time the credits roll, you're like, no, we're just getting good.
We'll see what they got up their sleeve. I think what's going to be kind of not refreshing, but I think the fans that had problems with WandaVision, I know who you know who they are, the ones that watched 2 episodes and were like, this is stupid. Okay. Well, Falcon and Winter Soldier's coming out. I think this is going to be more your cup of tea. There's no misdirection or playful film, cinema going on here. It's more straight up Falcon and Winter Soldier as advertised. So,
or to put it in more graspable terms, more punchy, less thinky.
No, I hope it's not stupid by any means. I'm sure it'll have its
I'm
fair
sure
share of gravitas. But it's more. This is more. If you enjoyed the Captain America films, which I did, by the way, as you know, this is more what you're looking for. So yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here for this.
Straight up, straightforward Marvel goodness. But yeah, WandaVision, fantastic. Couldn't be happier with it. A lot of great stuff. So yeah, guess that puts a cap on it for us. Unless there's anything else you have to add for WandaVision.
No. I think we covered it all, and I enjoyed it thoroughly, and looking forward to see where things go from here.
Cool. All right, folks. I believe that's going to do it for us this week. We appreciate you, as always, stopping in and hanging out with us, listening to the show. As always, if you would like to send us any questions, comments, stuff you want us to talk about on the show, by all means, reach out to us, communicate with us. You can do so at the following social media locations. You can follow us on Twitter at Devils Do Pod. You can like our Facebook page at facebook.com/Devils Do Pod. You can email us at thedevilsdopod@gmail.com, or you can find all these resources available to you on our website, thedevilsdopodcast.com. Drew, that being said, any closing thoughts?
No. No.
All right. Any rhythmic keyboarding you'd like to leave us with before we go?
Rhythmic? I mean, just
play us a little Toto, Drew, on your keyboard. Give us some Down in Africa.
Something like that.
All right, folks. As always, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Hope you have a great couple of weeks. We'll talk to you again soon. In the meantime, be excellent to each other.